At Evan's birthday dinner, I laughed and said, my ex was better in bed, like it was a joke. My boyfriend put his card down, walked out without a word, and by morning, the group chat was calling me cruel. He blocked my number that night. I'm Sloane, I'm 26, and I need to tell you how I sank what might have been the best relationship of my life with one careless line. At the time, I told myself I was being honest, maybe even mature. Instead, I watched 2 months of something good fall apart right in front of me. And the truth is, I still can't tell if I was completely out of line or if he just couldn't handle what I said. When I met Evan, I wasn't shopping for anything serious. I was working front desk and admin at a small health clinic, paying bills and trying to figure out what came next. Evan was in construction management. Don't ask me the specifics. He usually showed up covered in dust anyway. But there was something about him that surprised me in the best way. Our first date was supposed to be low-key. Coffee at this downtown spot with mismatched chairs and more plants than tables. I figured we'd talk for an hour, maybe grab lunch if it went well, and then he'd fade out like most guys do. That's usually how it went for me. Evan, though, was different. He actually listened, like, really listened. I ended up doodling a little cartoon of him on a napkin, hard hat and work boots and all. When I slid it over, his face lit up like I'd handed him a winning scratch-off. It was ridiculous and sweet at the same time. He folded the napkin up carefully and tucked it in his wallet, swearing he'd keep it forever. Coffee stretched into 3 hours of talking about everything and nothing. The barista started giving us the wrap-it-up vibes, wiping tables a little too hard, so we finally took the hint and left. Outside, Evan walked me to my car and asked if he could see me again. No desperation, just a kind of sincere excitement that felt good. After that, things moved quickly. He had this ritual of calling me around 10 at night, right after his shower when he was winding down. We'd talk about nothing important, what we ate, dumb things that happened at work, ideas for the weekend. Sometimes I'd nod off mid-call, and the next morning there'd be a text saying, he listened to me breathe for 10 minutes before hanging up because I sounded peaceful. Within a few weeks we were together all the time. Weekends became automatic. Friday movies at his place, Saturday morning breakfast runs, Sunday afternoons just laying around. He lived in a tiny apartment above a pizza shop, and it always smelled like garlic and oregano, but somehow it felt more like home than my own place. I loved how easy it was with him. No drama, no games, no guessing where I stood. Evan was direct about how he felt, which was refreshing and sometimes a little overwhelming. He'd tell me I looked beautiful when I rolled out of bed, with messy hair and yesterday's mascara. He remembered small details from stories I barely remembered telling. But here's the complication. I wasn't as open as he was. There was Logan, my ex. He kept me stuck in emotional limbo for almost a year before we finally called it quits 6 months earlier. Logan was the opposite of Evan. Unpredictable, exciting, emotionally unavailable, and bad for me in all the ways that somehow kept pulling me back. We ran on a toxic loop, dramatic breakups, a few quiet weeks, and then late-night texts when we were drunk or bored or lonely. One thing would lead to another, and we'd hook up again, both pretending it meant something different this time. Even while I was falling hard for Evan's steady kindness, a part of me was still tangled up with Logan. I kept telling myself it wasn't cheating, because Evan and I hadn't had the "are we exclusive" talk yet. We were just dating, feeling things out, keeping it casual. That's the line I fed myself every time Logan's name lit up my phone. The truth? I liked having both. Evan was stability and real affection. Logan was chaos, heat, and that jittery uncertainty that made my heart race. I knew it wasn't fair to either of them, but I wasn't ready to choose. Why should I have to? The last time I saw Logan before everything blew up was 3 days before Evan asked his big question. Logan texted me around midnight on a Wednesday, drunk and saying he missed me. I should have ignored it. I should have been thinking about Evan. He'd spent that evening helping me put together a bookshelf I'd been avoiding for months. Instead, at 1 in the morning, I was driving to Logan's place. With him, it was the same as always. Intense, passionate, and empty once it was over. He said everything I wanted to hear, about how much he missed me and how this time could be different, and I knew he was lying. I also knew I was lying to myself about why I kept going back. I left feeling hollow and confused. On the drive home, Evan called to make sure I got back safe from the girls' night I'd told him about. His voice was sleepy and sweet, asking if I had fun and telling me he missed me, even though we'd seen each other that afternoon. For the next few days, I threw myself into being the perfect girlfriend. I cooked at his place, let him introduce me to his co-workers at a company barbecue, even helped him pick out a birthday gift for his sister. I was trying to convince myself that Evan was everything I needed and that I could finally let go of whatever grip Logan still had on me. The night it all changed started simple. Evan made his famous spaghetti and meatballs, not fancy, but he put care into it like nobody else ever had. After dinner, we curled up on his couch, my legs across his lap, while some mindless comedy played. Then he shifted and looked at me with an expression I hadn't seen before. Serious but hopeful, nervous and determined at the same time. He muted the TV, took my hand, and traced little circles on my palm, the way he does when something's on his mind. "Sloane," he said, and I sat up a bit because of how his voice sounded. "I've been thinking about us, where this is going. We haven't made it official, but I want you to know I'm not seeing anyone else. Haven't since our second date. And I was hoping, I'd like us to be exclusive, official, whatever you want to call it." The words just hung there, and I could see how vulnerable he was waiting for me to answer. It was everything I should have wanted: commitment, loyalty, a real relationship with someone who actually cared. But instead of feeling relieved, panic climbed right up my throat. All I could think about was Logan, that I'd been with him 3 days earlier, that Evan was asking me to shut a door I wasn't sure I could close, that I'd been lying to this good man who deserved better than my confusion, and instead of giving the honest answer he deserved, or admitting my screw-up, I said the one sentence guaranteed to blow it all up. "Can I sleep with my ex one last time?" It slipped out before I could stop it, and the second it left my mouth, I wanted to grab it back, but it was already too late. Evan's face cycled through about 5 emotions in 2 seconds: confusion, hurt, anger, and then a resigned kind of sadness that cracked something in me. "What?" he said softly, like he couldn't believe he'd heard me right. I think I need closure," I stammered, trying to explain something I didn't even understand. "It isn't about you, Evan. You're great. I just have unfinished business with Logan, and if I could just... Are you serious right now?" His voice was still low, but there was an edge I'd never heard. "You want to sleep with your ex before we make this official?" "I'm trying to be honest," I said. Part of me even believed it. I could have said yes and done it behind his back, but I wanted to tell him where my head was. He stared at me for a long beat, like he was sorting the pieces. Then came the question I was dreading. "When's the last time you slept with him?" I hesitated, and that pause told him everything. "Sloane," he said, firmer. "When?" "A few months ago," I lied, because the truth felt brutal. "Try again," he said, voice flat, all the warmth gone. I could have doubled down, I could have deflected. Instead, for some reason, I told the truth. "Last week," I whispered. "Wednesday night." He went still. I watched him do the math, remembering our week, realizing I'd been with Logan just hours after being with him. "Wednesday," he repeated, "the night I helped you with your bookshelf. The night I called to make sure you got home safe from your girls' night." I nodded, throat tight. "So while I was worried about you getting home, you were actually sleeping with your ex?" It wasn't a question. "Evan, please let me explain." "Explain what?" He stood up and paced to the far side of the room. "Explain how you've been playing me. How I was your backup while you decided if you could get back with him." "It's not like that," I insisted. even though a part of me knew it was exactly like that. Then what is it, Sloane? Because from here it looks like I'm your safety net while you keep one foot out the door. I wanted to argue, to say he was wrong, but nothing came out, because he wasn't wrong. I had kept Evan as the safe option while I kept dancing with Logan. I care about you, I said weakly. What we have is real. Real? He laughed once with no humor in it. Real would have been telling me about Logan from the start. Real would have been making a choice instead of stringing me along. Real would have been not sleeping with your ex 3 days ago, and then asking permission to do it again. I started crying then, partly because I was wrecked, partly because tears had always been my go-to when cornered. He didn't budge. Don't, he said, holding up a hand. Don't cry and make this about how sorry you are. You already made your choice. Sloane, you've been making it for weeks. I haven't chosen anything, I said through tears. That's why I wanted to be honest about needing closure. Closure? His voice finally rose. You want closure? Here's your closure. We're done. Go be with Logan. Figure out whatever you need to figure out, but don't ask me to wait. Evan, please. No. The word landed like a door shutting. I thought I knew you. I thought you were different, but you're just like every other girl who can't let go of the guy who treats her like crap because he's exciting, and I'm boring. You're not boring, I blurted. You're the best thing that's happened to me. If that were true, he said, calm and final, you wouldn't have slept with your ex last week, and you wouldn't be asking to do it again. Evan snatched his keys off the counter. I'm going for a drive. Be gone when I get back. A second later, the door slammed, and I was standing alone in his place, the air still smelling like the dinner he'd carefully cooked a few hours earlier. I woke up the next morning with that pit in the stomach feeling you get when you've really blown it. My first move was to call him and try to repair the damage, but his number went straight to voicemail. He'd already blocked me. I spent the whole weekend ping-ponging between anger and regret. Part of me was furious that he couldn't handle one honest conversation. What kind of man walks out instead of fighting for someone he says he cares about? But the part I kept trying to ignore knew I'd messed up in a way you can't just undo. By Monday, I'd convinced myself he'd cool off and we'd talk like adults. I decided to show up at his job around lunch, thinking if he saw me face to face, he might remember what we had. I found him in the site trailer, bent over blueprints with 2 guys. When I knocked and he looked up, his expression didn't move an inch. It was like looking at a stranger. Can I help you? He asked, polite, professional, like I was a vendor. Evan, can we please talk? I kept my voice steady. I'm working, Sloane, he said without lifting his eyes, and there's nothing to talk about. 5 minutes, I begged. Just give me 5 to explain. One of the guys cleared his throat and slipped outside. When we were alone, Evan finally met my eyes. You want to explain, he said. Explain what? How you've been lying to me for weeks. How you would have kept lying if I hadn't brought up being exclusive. I was trying to be honest, I shot back, my voice rising. I could have said yes to exclusive and done whatever behind your back. I didn't. I told you where my head was. He studied me for a long moment, and I watched the anger drain into something worse, disappointment. You really believe that, don't you? He said quietly. You actually think asking permission to sleep with your ex is honesty and maturity. I wasn't asking to cheat. We weren't exclusive yet, right? He nodded slowly. We weren't. So tell me, Sloane, how many other guys were you sleeping with while we weren't exclusive? He didn't wait. Because I'm guessing it was just Logan, which means this isn't about keeping options open. It's about not letting go of someone who treats you like trash. I wanted to argue, but he wasn't wrong. It was only Logan. It had always been Logan. He doesn't treat me like trash, I said, even hearing how weak it sounded. Doesn't he? Evan's voice sharpened. When's the last time he took you to dinner? Introduced you to his friends? Made plans with you more than 2 hours ahead? I had no answer. We both knew why. That's what I thought, he said. So don't stand here and call this honesty or being an adult. This is you choosing drama over stability, chaos over peace, because you're hooked on feeling lousy about yourself. That's not fair, I said, and even I could hear the hollowness. You know what's not fair? He stood up, and for the first time since I'd known him, he looked truly angry. Not fair is letting me fall for you while you're still tangled up with someone else. Not fair is making me feel like an idiot for believing in something that wasn't real. It was real, I insisted. What we had was real. If it was, he said evenly, you'd have chosen me without hesitation. You wouldn't have slept with Logan last week, and you wouldn't be standing here trying to convince me that asking to sleep with your ex was somehow considerate of my feelings. So that's it. 2 months together and you're just tossing it because I made one mistake. One mistake. Evan let out a laugh with zero humor. Sloane, this wasn't one mistake. It's a pattern. You picked Logan over me every chance you got, and I was too blind to see it until you spelled it out. I drove straight to Logan's place. He was exactly how I knew he'd be when I showed up crying. Sympathetic, not too invested, happy to let me vent without offering any real answers. He said the right lines about Evan being an ass and not understanding how messy relationships can get. Sounds like Evan's got serious jealousy issues, Logan said, running his fingers through my hair while I curled up against his chest. Any guy who can't handle your past isn't worth your time. That's what I tried to tell him, I said. I was trying to be honest about how I felt, and he made me feel like a monster for it. You're not a monster, babe, Logan murmured. You're human. Feelings are complicated. If he can't handle that, that's on him. We slid right back into our old rhythm over the next few days. It was easy in a way it never was with Evan. No expectations, no pressure to be better. But even while I tried to disappear into the familiar comfort of Logan's chaos, I couldn't stop thinking about Evan, the good morning texts, how he listened to me ramble about work without getting bored, the way I felt safe and cherished when he held me. 3 weeks into my reunion with Logan, the shine was already gone. The chaos that once felt exciting just felt ex-Logang. He hadn't changed. He was charming when it suited him, distant when it didn't, and unreliable whenever anything important came up. I kept comparing everything he did to the way Evan treated me. When Logan forgot I was coming over and left me standing outside his building for an hour, I thought about how Evan used to text if he was even 5 minutes late. The big wake-up call hit when I got the flu. I was miserable, feverish, barely able to get out of bed. I texted Logan to say I wouldn't make it, hoping for a little sympathy, maybe an offer to bring soup. He replied, "Okay, feel better. Let me know when you're back to normal." That was it. No check-ins, no help. I spent 3 days alone, thinking about how Evan took care of me when I had food poisoning a few weeks into our dating. 3 months after the breakup, I made the mistake of checking Evan's social status. There were photos from a lake house weekend with a woman named Harper, his friends and family around them, everyone relaxed and happy. The caption read, 6 months with this amazing woman, grateful every day for second chances and new beginnings. 6 months, which meant he started dating her almost immediately after we ended. While I was wallowing and trying to make it work with Logan, he moved on and built something real. That night I got drunk and sent Evan a long, messy text. How sorry I was, how much I missed him, how I'd made the biggest mistake of my life, how I'd do anything to fix it. He never wrote back. In the morning, a text came from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Harper. Evan showed me your message. I understand you're hurting, but please stop contacting him. He's moved on, and you need to respect that." That same week, everything with Logan finally blew. We had a huge fight because he made plans with his buddies on the one night we'd set aside for each other. "You're acting just like my ex," he snapped in the middle of it, "always wanting to know where I am. Getting mad when I make plans with my friends. I thought you were cooler than this." I started to say, "Evan used to," and Logan snapped, "Oh my God, enough with Evan. I'm sick of hearing about your perfect ex. If he was so great, why are you here with me?" I had no answer, because the truth was ugly. I was only with Logan because I'd blown up what I had with Evan. That night, Logan didn't come home. Around midnight, he texted that he was crashing at a friend's place. 2 weeks later, I learned he'd been seeing his ex, Elena, the whole time. Not just sleeping with her, actually dating her, taking her to dinner, meeting her friends, doing all the things he never did with me. I found out when she walked into his apartment while I was there, holding a birthday cake and a key, ready to surprise him. She had no idea I existed. What followed was the most humiliating conversation of my life. Eleanor and I compared notes, and the picture was brutal. He'd been lying to both of us about everything. When Logan came home and saw us together, I watched his face move from shock to panic to resignation. "I can explain," he started. "Don't," Elena cut in, steady and firm. "Just don't. We're done. Both of us." As we gathered our things, she looked at me and said, "You know what's wild? We both deserve better than this, and somehow he convinced us we didn't." I went back to my own place for the first time in weeks and sat in the quiet, trying to make sense of it. I'd traded a man who would have loved me faithfully for someone who was never really mine. 14 months later, I was grabbing coffee on a Saturday when I saw Evan again. Same shop as our first date, which felt like the universe was messing with me. He sat in the corner with Harper, both of them laughing over some little joke. A newspaper spread between them. They looked settled in that quiet, intimate way, her feet tucked under her, his jacket over her shoulders, his hand absently playing with her hair. Evan looked up and saw me. For a moment we just stared. Harper followed his gaze. He said something soft to her, kissed her forehead and stood. "Sloane," he said. "Hi," I managed. "You look good." "You too," he said, and I could tell he meant it. I'd been in therapy for over a year, taking better care of myself, breaking the old patterns. "How are you?" "Really?" he asked. "Better," I said. "Not great, but better. I've been in therapy, trying to figure out why I trailed off." "Why did you sabotage us?" he finished without malice. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I'm glad you're getting help," he said at last. "You deserve to be happy, Sloane. You just didn't know how to let yourself be." The past tense landed. Deserved. "I know that now," I said. "Too late, but I know it." "It's not too late," he answered gently. "Just too late for us." I nodded toward Harper. "She makes you happy." His face softened. "She does. She's everything I didn't know I needed." "Evan," I said, knowing this might be my only chance. "I'm sorry. Not because I want anything from you, not to get you back, just because it's true. I'm sorry I hurt you. I was too immature to see what we had when we had it." He held my eyes for a beat. "I know you are," he said finally, "and I forgive you, Sloane." "I forgave you a long time ago," he said. "I had to. Holding on to anger just kept me from being happy with Harper." "I should let you get back to your morning," I said, starting to turn away. "Sloane," he called after me, "I mean it about being happy. You deserve that. Don't settle for less just because it feels familiar." I sat in my car for 10 minutes and cried, not only for what I'd lost, but for what he'd found. Watching them together showed me exactly what I'd thrown away, and exactly the kind of love I should be chasing going forward. Evan had found someone who picked him every single day, someone who didn't need chaos to feel alive, someone who understood that real love is built on steadiness and trust, not on spikes of drama and long stretches of doubt. Harper was being loved by a man who would never take her for granted, because he knew firsthand what betrayal costs. Maybe, someday, I'll find what he found with her. Someone who can love me consistently, someone I can choose without second-guessing, someone who makes me want to be better instead of leaving me feeling small. It was a brutal lesson, paid for with the loss of the best relationship I've ever had, but it's one I'll carry with me, a reminder of what happens when you pick chaos over love, noise over peace, fear over trust. Evan's happy now, really happy in a way he never was with me, and as much as that stings, it also snapped the spell that we could ever circle back. He moved on completely, found a partner who could give him what I was too broken to offer. The story of Evan and me is finished, ended by my choices, and sealed by time and his commitment to someone else. But my story, the one where I learned to love myself enough to accept the right kind of love, has only just begun. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city are you watching. Ching, ching.